Monday morning reared its ugly head once again. My eyes blinked open to see the sunlight streaming through my bedroom window. The red LED numerals on the bedside clock displayed 5:30, so I closed my eyes, hoping to catch a few more minutes of sleep. I could hear the juncos singing outside of the open window, and I wondered how these little creatures could be so happy at this time of the morning. When sleep did not return, I slid out of bed and made my way to the bathroom, where I stared at my mug in the mirror as I rubbed the electric shaver over my stubbly beard. Why did God invent Mondays? I wondered. Why couldn't every day be a Friday? I knew the days of the week did not exist on the spirit side. A wonderful thought indeed. Some day I would return to the spirit side to enjoy the timeless bliss in our home beyond the veil. But I had to finish my journey on earth before I could return. My mission today was to begin writing my third book, and I hoped Albert would show up to provide me with some much-needed inspiration. I dearly missed the wit and wisdom of Albert, who had disappeared several months ago, leaving a huge gap in my life. Albert is one of my spirit guides, and the star of my first two books, Dancing on a Stamp and Dancing Forever with Spirit. He is a wise old soul, an emissary from the spirit world, who appeared before me one day to answer all the big questions in life I had been pondering for many years. As I described in Dancing on a Stamp, I first met Albert in 2007, when I was still practicing law. I was strolling down the street on a sunny day in May when a homeless man jumped out of the shadows to stop me in my tracks. This street person, who was Albert in disguise, looked like a typical homeless man with long greasy hair, scraggly beard, and dirty clothes. My usual response to such encounters was to make a quick sidestep to go around, but this time I stood there like a deer caught in the headlights, transfixed by his radiant blue eyes that shone like two little blue stars. His gaze penetrated deeply into my very being, right down to the depths of my soul, and I sensed he knew all the intimate details of my life. My hopes and aspirations, my fears and anxieties, and my deepest and darkest secrets. Despite feeling somewhat naked and exposed, I did not feel violated, because at the same time his sparkling eyes sent a wave of pure unconditional love that infused my whole body with an unforgettable sense of peace and security. I could have stood there forever, basking in this gush of love, but he broke the spell when he said, "Why are you here?" before promptly disappearing into a nearby store. When I found Albert on the same street the next day, he told me he was a soul just like me, who had come to answer my questions and help me on my journey. Initially I was skeptical, as he looked like he had been sleeping on the street for weeks, and he smelled like a dead fish. Fortunately, my intuition prompted me to take a chance with this man, to see if he could really answer all the eternal questions I had been asking myself for years. Who am I? Why am I here? What is the purpose of my life? What will happen to me after I die? So I sat down on the bench that day with this homeless man, and our conversation began. I soon learned Albert was one of my spirit guides in disguise, and I was the only one who could see him as the homeless man. After our third meeting, Albert no longer appeared in the flesh, and he spoke to me telepathically as a voice in my head. Albert answered all my questions with wisdom and humor, and our conversations were lighthearted, like two friends chatting over a beer. His responses felt right and rang true in my heart, so I knew what he told me was the real truth. I was surprised when he asked me to write a book about our conversations, so all humans would have access to his revelations. At first I was reluctant to take on this task, because I had never before written a book. I soon learned, however, it was futile to argue with spirit, so I wrote Dancing on a Stamp, with helpful guidance from Albert.